and later on start just sharing the recording. Okay. Okay, so actually we are all set and started.
Okay.
So Rebecca, we are in your hands.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for being here. It was, as everyone was getting on and saying hello, I was reminded of how the Rotary Peace Building family is both small and connected and ever expanding. So it's really lovely to see everyone here. We're well represented. I think it's nice. We do have a couple people perhaps from other areas of the world. I know that we have one of our Colombian colleagues here, Vigo Francisco Ciceri, who is from Colombia and was part of our Positive Peace training in Colombia. So we welcome him to listen to our stories of impact from Mexico. But I just did want to mention that we're mostly a group from North America. So Canada, the United States, and Mexico. So even though we can't see each other in person, it's kind of nice to remember that and to feel connected in that way, especially during these times. So this evening, and I should probably formally introduce myself because I'm assuming that everyone knows me. My name is Rebecca Kroll, and I'm the Area Focus Manager for Peace Building and Conflict Prevention. And I've been with Rotary for over a decade, working in numerous initiatives for peace, but as the Area Focus Manager, focusing our community-based peace work for 7 years almost now. So this evening, we are going to be talking about one of our most exciting initiatives to date, which is our peace building work in Mexico. And this work is really ongoing. So we've been working in Mexico since 2017. And this evening is a culmination of all of that work, but really focused on the outcomes of the 2019 positive peace training, the national positive peace training that took place in Hidalgo. So we're going to have a number of speakers this evening that will be given somewhat short time slots. So, but you will be hearing from a number of different people, and this really represents, in my mind, the impact that we're having. So we have Rotarians here, we have our colleagues from IDP, we have Rotaractors. There's so many different people that are engaged in this initiative and working towards trying to build systemic peace in Mexico that I think that that's really represented by the group this evening. And I'll talk a little bit more about our peace building work in general and the importance of it in this moment in time. But I just wanted to give a heartfelt thanks to everyone on this call. But in particular, Ranapun in District 6780, you have been incredibly fundamental in the work that we have done to build peace, both in Mexico and in the United States now. So I also wanted to recognize all the district leaders in the Heart to Heart program, all the district governors that supported this initiative, our clubs in Arizona. And excuse me, my son is coming in. Sorry, everybody. And of course, the Rotarians in Mexico and Dante Monsalvo and all of our wonderful hosts. Sorry about that little interruption, everyone. So before we get into the heart of what we're going to be talking tonight, I just wanted to set the stage for what I think is a really pivotal moment within Rotary. So we've been working in peace. Rotary has been working in peace really since the very beginning of the formation of our organization, so over 100 years. But it's only been within the less than a decade that we've been committing ourselves to peace building work at the community level. And I've adopted this phrase, which I think is very fitting to what we do, which is that Rotary is building this ecosystem of peace. So we are not a one-issue organization. We're a volunteer organization spread out globally throughout the world, and we work on a number of additional initiatives, water, education, even within peace, there's a number of different ways in which we work towards that through reconciliation, mediation, education, leadership development. But in 2017, we formed a partnership with the Institute for Economics and Peace. And that really was a pivotal moment, I believe, in our peace building work, because the power of positive peace, and I think Carlos and Michael will talk a little bit more about this, is that it is at the same time both expansive and inclusive of so much of the work that Rotary does, but also provides a framework and a roadmap for where we want to go to create the systemic change that is necessary. And from the beginning of my job within Rotary, working with this, I've always seen an important role for Rotarians within the peace building field, within positive peace and within the sector as a whole, as conveners with connections to government, civil society, all the different areas that create this systemic change. And I think now more than ever, we need people like you, like ourselves, like this group, doing this work. I think it's critical. There's no other way to say it. So I'm excited to be here with you all. And I hope that as you listen to the speakers this evening, we also start to think about how not only we are doing this work in Mexico, but how we can be doing it in the United States, in Canada, and throughout the world. So with that, I am going to hand it over to my esteemed colleague, Jorge Marubia, for his thoughts and comments.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Muchas gracias. So it's my pleasure to address you all, and thank you for joining today in this very relevant session. It's also very good to see so many friends and colleagues that have supported these projects, these several projects that we are going to be talking about. And first of all, I would like to share my presentation. That is a kind of short presentation. This is a picture of the Rotary Peace Fellows that we first met in, we met in 2015 in Sao Paulo. And the reason why I'm bringing this up into this session is because of this. UNESCO Constitution, it states, since war begins in the minds of men and women, it is in the minds of men and women that the defenses of peace must be constructed. And actually, the woman word wasn't there in the original text, and this is part of the changes that we face that we progressively move into as we move as humanity altogether. The Rotary Foundation, the Rotary organization, has decided to invest in what is now the Rotary Peace Centers, and supported 1,300 Rotary Peace alumni so far. And the reason why I am bringing this into this session is because the projects that we are going to be speaking about have their inception into many of these people. In 2015 in Sao Paulo, we first met with Summer Lewis in this conference where the Institute for Economics and Peace was invited as a top lecturer to the Rotary conference over there. And the first seeds of what will become from there the positive peace workshops in Mexico and in Colombia had its origin in this conference. In that conference, one of the core topics by the Institute of Economics and Peace was to introduce the concept of positive peace to Rotarians, and positive peace understood as the attitudes, institutions, and structures that create and sustain peaceful societies. Has 8 pillars. And these 8 pillars are something that was quite new. These 8 pillars was something about what are the foundations, what are the things in common among the nations that have a constant base of peaceful and sustaining peaceful societies. And these 8 pillars: well-functioning government, equitable distribution of resources, free flow of information, good relations with neighbors, acceptance of the rights of others, high levels of human capital, low levels of corruption, and sound business environment. What we did was to bring this into a workshop that will be able to transfer this knowledge into a new generation of Mexican young leaders that will bring projects based on these 8 pillars in their different regions across the nation. So in 2017, with the support of many different clubs and districts, but notoriously, for example, here we can see all of the 7 Mexican districts participated in funding that training. Also, our partner was the Rotary Club of Sun City. International partner was the Rotary Club of Sun City in Arizona. We have the support of the then 2 Rotary districts in Arizona. Also, we have support by the districts in Missouri, in Tennessee, also in Alaska, in Manitoba, in Canada. And it was an incredible resource of effort that enabled us to bring together 300 participants from all across the country. And they participated of workshops, of panels, of conferences, and this evolved into the 2019 second national encounter, Stronger Mexico, Pillars of Positive Peace. And in this encounter, we again had the support of the 7 Rotary districts in Mexico. And in this occasion, we also have the support of the district in Arizona, as well as pretty much all of the districts in zones 30 and 31 in the United States. And this is an opportunity for us to say to you, thank you. Thank you for investing in this project. Thank you for investing in this youth. That today we are going to meet some of the participants, of the 150 participants for this workshop. And this occasion, we had less participants, but we doubled the impact. And the objectives of this encounter are 3: to enhance knowledge and skills of positive peace among participants, to promote the building and sustaining of peace in Mexico, to equip participants with methodologies, practical tools, and frameworks to devise innovative solutions for promoting positive peace within their spheres of influence, and to build a broader, stronger network of young leaders who are alive, well-equipped, and committed to strengthening peace in their communities. My colleague Summer Lewis, who has been in the lead of the monitoring and evaluation, will go deeper into how we achieve these goals. These pictures to the side show some of the participants of this encounter, but it's very relevant for us to share with you that we were very conscious of securing a diversity among our participants. So we welcome participants from 18 to 30 years old, men and women. Actually, the average age was 27 years old, 50% men, 50% women from all of the 7 Rotary Peace districts, and half of them were Rotaractors and half of them were not. We had members of civil society organizations, participants to government, members of young business organizations, and very notoriously, for example, here in the bottom right of this image, we see one of our co-organizers who contested for the Rotary Peace Fellowship after participating. Unfortunately, she was one of the selected new Rotary Peace Fellows, just started, Francisca Garces, just started her master's degree in Uppsala in Sweden. And the encounter has had several dimensions of impact, and I would like to speak of them as milestones. After the encounter, 10 participants from the Mexican workshop were invited or were selected to participate of the Nobel Peace Summit in Merida in 2019. Also, 10 other participants were invited from Colombia to participate in this very same opportunity. I want to also thank again Summer for all her efforts in putting together this initiative there. In Rotary Convention in Hamburg 2019, some of our participants from Rotaract were invited to lead a workshop for the Rotaract colleagues in the convention. And for this 2020-2021, we are working on the development of the 100 in 100 program. In this initiative that many of you know very well, 400 projects were received. Out of them, 200 were pre-selected. Out of those, 15 projects were coming from participants from the national encounter, and these participants were proposing peace projects based upon the framework of the Pillars of Positive Peace proposed by the Institute for Economics and Peace. And finally, and perhaps what is the seed for what is next to come, is the Positive Peace Activators Program. 6 of the participants of the national encounter were selected by Rotary and the Institute for Economics and Peace to be part of the cohort of approximately 30 participants of a Latin American group of positive peace activators that we are going to be listening more about later on the presentation. So this is the general framework for the national encounters, and I give back the microphone to my dear Rebecca.
Thank you, Jorge. That was a really beautiful framing of the work we've done so far. So now I'd like to hand la palabra, the mic, over to Summer, and she's going to be sharing the key results from the official monitoring and evaluation that they did for this specific project.
Okay, thank you. So just to confirm, can everyone see my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yes.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So as Rebecca mentioned, my name is Summer Lewis. I'm currently I wear a few different hats. When it comes to working with Rotary, I'm a Rotary Peace Fellow, the partnership coordinator for the partnership between Rotary and the Institute for Economics and Peace. But tonight I am wearing my hat as the coordinator for monitoring and evaluation for the second national encounter. So it's a real privilege to be here. Thanks to Rebecca and Jorge for giving the intro. What I'm going to do today is provide a very general overview, mostly data, regarding the impact of this particular workshop. And it's very exciting to be able to work in the part of monitoring and evaluation. It's an important and essential component of any global grant. Rotary requires it, but what's so inspiring about it is this sort of work allows myself and others who do it to connect with the stories of impact. You'll be hearing those stories tonight. What I'm going to focus on, though, is the data. I do want to quickly acknowledge that the work that was done for this monitoring and evaluation was in part as in a former position that I had as director of True Roots International, a nonprofit consulting organization. And I want to also acknowledge the work of Nicola Copley, our monitoring and evaluation manager for True Roots. She did the bulk of the work on collecting this data, analyzing the data, and reporting on the data. So I don't know if Nicola made it here tonight, but I do want to give a shout out to her for helping put this all together. So having said all of that, I want to jump right in. Jorge covered the 3 project objectives very well. And I want to just have you continue thinking about those objectives, because those objectives guided all of the monitoring and evaluation work. For those of you who may be saying, what on earth is monitoring and evaluation? It's just a fancy way of saying impact assessment or impact measurement. So based on the objectives that Jorge brought, well, first let me talk about the structure, then I'll get into the objectives. So Jorge did cover a little bit about some different processes that took place as part of the global grant. I bring these up here because the work with monitoring and evaluation aligned directly with very specific milestones in the global grant. So when the mapping process took place and participants were chosen, once we knew who the participants were, we did a baseline survey. Basically, we wanted to find out what knowledge and skills did participants have, what networks did they have, and what projects were they doing prior to participating in the national encounter and or the training of trainers. Once we had the national encounter in March, we immediately did a follow-up survey with participants. This is to gather as much information as possible, again, about knowledge and skills, networks, and any sort of projects or actions and plans participants had immediately coming out of that workshop. So this survey took place within 2 weeks of that workshop. Then finally, after we had done the training of trainers or the strengthening of leadership training, we didn't do any surveys immediately following that, but what we did do was we waited 1 year. So we waited 1 year to do a final impact survey. And the reason for this is basically to find out 1 year after the national encounter and the training of trainers, were participants using any of the skills and knowledge they gathered? Were they building networks and were they doing projects? Because it's one thing to measure this immediately after an event when everyone's excited and motivated. It's another thing to say 1 year later, let's see what's happening. What we can say with certainty is the majority of data that I'm going to present here is based on that final impact survey. So based on information a year after the event, we can say with certainty that participants are definitely applying the knowledge and skills, they're building networks, and they are doing actions. They're working in positive peace. Diving in a bit more specifically, what we did find out following the national encounter, for example, many of the participants that attended this didn't have prior experience with peace or peace building in terms of formal training. So about 60% didn't have training. So we had a really good mix in a way of people with experience and people with no experience. Overall, though, for those with or without prior experience, we did find an increase in their learning. So people said, I learned something at this event, which is great. That was one of the goals of it. It's also important to note, though, that it wasn't that just people learned something. They also felt really comfortable. They felt like they had a solid foundation. So 98% of participants following the national encounter said, I feel I have a solid foundation about the pillars of positive peace. I understand what they are. Additionally, in addition to feeling like they had a solid foundation, they felt comfortable explaining it to others. So it's one thing to have the information and feel comfortable with it, but then what do you do with it? Is the information useful and is it applied? Well, in our monitoring and evaluation, we did find that indeed, immediately after the national encounter, participants did find that the content was useful. But then a year later, we also asked, okay, you thought this information was useful. Did you actually apply it? And indeed, we can see here that participants did. 91% of participants a year later had applied one or more of the tools that they learned in their work, studies, or projects. And 96% of participants felt that what they had learned at the encounter had helped them to approach challenges. So you can see some quotes here. These appear in the final evaluation report, which the link I will share in more depth. Basically, participants said, I learned something that was really practical, and a year later, I was able to apply it. Now, in terms of network building, this was the second objective. Many of the participants that came to this event already had some form of a network. About 80% had said, yeah, I'm connected to some people doing peace building. I have some connections. What's good about this, though, is that we found that the participants coming into the national encounter that had experience or had connections with other networks, as well as those who didn't, 96% of all participants at the end said, I made valuable connections at this event. And this is important because one of the key goals was network building. A year later, we thought, okay, now we've got to find out though, all these people connected with each other, they overwhelmingly felt that they made valuable connections. Did they maintain them? We did find that yes, about 64% of participants reported that they were still participating in collaboration networks. They were still communicating with people. Over the course of a year, some of the frequency of communication did drop off, but that's normal and to be expected. One of the important components to touch on here is to say that this theme of network building and the collaboration networks, you're going to hear more stories about those today, about certain participants that continue to maintain those and have connected and have stayed connected. So there's examples today about this particular objective. Now, related to networks, one of the goals was also to provide new resources and opportunities to participants through the national encounter and through the training of trainers. Immediately following the national encounter, a lot of participants reported that they made connections with new organizations. They learned about new allies, new organizations. They overwhelmingly, 94% said they learned about new resources that were useful and related to their work. And they also felt immediately after the encounter that they had new professional academic opportunities. Again, lots of excitement immediately following the event. Now, a year later, we measured the same new resources and opportunities to see were participants actually taking advantage of these. And the numbers are actually really positive. We found that 59% of participants a year later had collaborated with an organization that they connected with at the encounter. We found that 67% of participants had used a new resource, so they've actually applied a new resource. And we found that 33% of participants had actually sought out new professional or academic opportunities a year later that they had learned about at the event. These are really good statistics. Finally, that final project objective that you saw Jorge talk about was related broadly to this idea of positive peace in action. So people doing projects, people doing work in positive peace, building innovative solutions to build positive peace in their communities. So we measured this a year later to say, okay, for those of you who may have been involved with projects prior to the event or immediately after, a year later, are you doing anything with positive peace? And we found, again, a wonderful number. 84% of participants reported they had become more involved in one or more projects related to peace building a year later. Some of these projects were new, some of these projects were projects that had existed, but this is a very good number. It shows a lot of engagement. Now, in addition to doing projects, we also wanted to see if participants were going out and sharing information a year later. Were they had over the past year, had they shared this information in some way? Again, these participants were very motivated. We found that 93% had shared information in some way, whether it was a presentation, an event, or a strategic conversation, 93% had done that. Now, what's important to touch up on with this is that if we consider that about 150 participants, that, you know, a significant portion of that responded to the final evaluation survey, we looked at how many people did each of these participants talk to? Did they present to, share strategic information with, attend a conference and talk about this, etc.? And from gathering all of that data from almost 150 people, what we found was that the reach of this national encounter was over 17,000 people. So that basically means that the participants went out and did presentations and events, and based on the number of people that were at those events, this is the ripple effect of it, that over 17,000 people in Mexico, and in some cases internationally, heard about the pillars of positive peace as well as the national encounter. So this is an amazing, amazing ripple effect and an amazing demonstration of the impact of this project. So just to conclude, like I said, I'll share the actual report with you, which has a lot more detailed information in it, as well as some of the case studies and impact stories that you'll hear tonight, as well as some others that you may not hear tonight. But I just want to conclude by saying, as the coordinator for monitoring and evaluation, overwhelmingly, I can definitely say that this event was a success. It had a strong impact, and that we are continuing to see the impact of that over time. So it is a true testament to your support and your dedication as Rotarians to helping make this event possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Summer. I'm now going to hand it over to our partners in crime, our wonderful colleagues at the Institute for Economics and Peace. So Michael, I believe, will be talking about the strategic role that IP has taken in shaping the content and the agenda for a lot of our trainings.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. I'm just blown away by that presentation, Summer. Absolutely fantastic. And I want to keep my comments very short so that we can hear a lot more about the projects. But there's a couple of things that I did want to say. Number one, how proud we are of our partnership with Rotary. You know, not only in regards to the US and the Mexico clubs and districts involved in this project, but also with individual clubs and districts around the world. So I'm not a Rotarian, so this whole experience has been sort of an incredible exposure. This experience of the partnership has been an incredible exposure to me. And you know, I kind of sort of see Rotary as this sort of living and breathing entity, right? With massive global impact, but you know, it sort of stands on the shoulders or sort of what, you know, is completely reliant in many ways on every individual member and future member. And as such, it's kind of sort of infinitely flexible, motivated, kind, and inherently grassroots as well. So, you know, we really couldn't think of a better partner to help spread positive peace around the world. You know, the way that Rotary has sort of embraced our positive peace work has been incredible, as has the way that the young leaders that we're going to be hearing about today have embraced it as well, facilitated by grants such as the one that helped this project. So, you know, we'd like to take credit for sort of a major strategic plan for building peace globally, but it's all you. You know, we're not an implementer, we're a research organization. So sort of seeing peace builders take these thoughts, which are in themselves, you know, nothing, and turning them into concrete action has been a really sort of humbling experience for us. And we're really sort of blown away by the direction Rotarians and Rotaractors and interactors are kind of sort of taking this work. And, you know, I haven't sort of seen a single case of a Rotarian having an idea and not bringing it to fruition. This is kind of sort of one of the reasons why it's been so difficult for us to keep up with the partnership, but also one of the reasons that it makes us so proud. So yeah, you know, with regards to today, it's all about celebrating the young leaders building peace in Mexico. I've had the chance to meet a number of them. Many of them are with us today, of course. I think they're incredible. I highly encourage Rotary to continue supporting their initiatives, as will we. Mexico's got a long way to go, as do many countries, including the US, of course. But the opportunity is there, and I can't think of a better group to take it forward. And, you know, with regards to sort of how this applies globally, you know, I think that the lessons learned, the case studies that were kind of sort of earned in Mexico through this process are going to have a very important impact regionally, due in large part to Rotary's ability to sort of transcend borders, you know, with extreme ease in ways other organizations may not be able to. We're already seeing the impact of this work in places like Colombia, in Argentina, Ecuador, and elsewhere. So, you know, it's kind of sort of tempting to think of this as a report for a project that's over, but it's really not. Not only do these initiatives continue in the way that Jorge explained before, but so does the learning, and so does their impact regionally and globally as well. So, you know, we can't wait for the next 5 years with Rotary, and look forward to the rest of the show tonight.
Wonderful, thank you, Michael. So now we're going to go to our panel. So we're going to have Rainer talk to us about the 100 for 100, Luis Miguel Castrillon from Guerrero, and then Raul Maza from Pueblo talk about their projects and experiences with positive peace.
Okay, so well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. We started 2 years ago this project to celebrate 100 years of Rotary in Mexico, and based on the initiative of Moran, Heart to Heart, Roger, Stevens, etc., we made positive peace an integral part of it. So at the end of the day, we have out of 200 projects, 30 peace-related projects in Mexico on the list, and a large part is positive peace-related. And I hope everybody knows or has seen the list, because it's quite impressive when it comes to the impact. And also a large part of that is from a Rotaract clubs, even Interact clubs. Which is quite impressive. So we are extremely focused on implementing your ideas. And that's why we are doing two things right now. Number one is, given the situation with the pandemic, with COVID, we are really focusing on trying to find funds, not only in the United States, but also here in Mexico, with new alliances. With foundations, international foundations, especially for the peace projects. And we are doing even training sessions for that now, focusing on the peace part and on others. So again, if anybody has good contacts, please let us know. I would also like to say that When it comes to implementation, my Rotary Club, and there's also Mikey here from the club, we do have one of the peace activators, positive peace activators in the club, Jelena Stasiewicz. She already did in our club a couple of webinars on this topic with really some pretty impressive national speakers that we had. And I also would like to say, and that is important for us, that our club will support 2 peace projects from other clubs. And we are working on the fundraising for that. And I'm also looking for more clubs to help us with that. And the last point is, and I haven't discussed that with anybody, but it is quite interesting. I don't know where we go with that. We do have in our Rotary Club a former colonel of the United States Army, a very proud member, and he has become a mentor of the Mexican Police Academy, and he would like to invite those people to the Spanish session. So I guess we should talk about it, but it's quite interesting that the idea is growing and that there is some pretty impressive impact. But well, thank you very much.
I need to stop muting myself and unmuting. Okay, so thank you so much, Reiner. It is growing. That is absolutely true. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So I believe now we're going to have Raul speak.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to share my screen. And so now you can see my presentation, right? Well, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Raul Mas Hernandez, and I'm the Executive Director of the Mexican Network for International Cooperation. And we were established in Puebla, but we work all across the country. And as we always like to talk about ourselves, it's like a bridge between social causes and international actors. As you may know, or you may not know, in Mexico, it's a little bit difficult for the last few years, since the new government does not recognize very much the civil society. And we're trying to make solutions or help organizations that diversify their funds. That's our role, to help organizations to strengthen themselves and to find more opportunities on other countries. So that's why I'm here to talk with you. Why? Because we would like to make and live a more sustainable world. If we do invest in a lot of projects that involve nature, people, peace, poverty, etc., they can make a different world and live a different world for the next generations. If we don't do that, we're going to be in a very, very big crisis, as scientists tell us, by 2050, more or less. And that's why I'm here to talk to you. I'm showing some pictures here on the top right. It's a project from one of our partners in the network. It's Colectivo Tomate. Many of you may know them. They make murals in the very violent communities, and through the art they get together people. So they take care of this piece of art that tells the history of their people, and the piece is built through that. This is a very little example that it's shown by one of our members, but a lot of civil society organizations do that from the day-to-day actions. So I'm here to tell you about this project that we have. It's a training program for future impact agents and civil society actors for the formulation and evaluation of peace projects. What's this? What's the translation of this? We're trying to make a dual participation program where investors, and by investors, we are talking about Rotarians and Rotaractarians, to show them, to let them know how to evaluate and how to invest in peace projects. As you know, there are 8 pillars, and there are a lot of projects that can be developed by these pillars. And that's why, on the other side, we would like to train the civil society organizations on how to present peace projects to these investors. So the duration of the project would be of 8 months, starting with one open call for the investors that are going to be trained and the civil society organizations. The second session is going to be like a session 0 that we call it, so they can know the basis of peace projects. The third step, it's going to be a session for civil society organizations, so they know how to formulate projects about peace and peace building. And the fourth step is going to be a session with Rotary members and social impact investors, so they know how to evaluate these projects. I know it's a little bit, maybe it's a little bit boring for some people because it's not as sexy, as I call it, because it's not going to be shown at first sight the results. But that's why we have the fifth step, that is a meet and match. And after this training from both sides, we would like to get them together and they can talk how they would like to invest in what kind of projects and what kind of projects do civil society organizations do they have. And by the last step, we have an evaluate and measure the results obtained by participants and the projects in general. That's our project, and we would love for you to be part of it. And this is, well, I left my data, but I guess this is about it, the time I have. So thank you very much for this space.
Thank you, Raul. And if that was your timer going off, I'm very impressed. Okay, so we will go on to Luis Miguel from Guerrero.
Hello, everybody. I'm very excited to show you what we have doing. First of all, I want to thank you, everybody on the other side involved in this peace project, but also everyone for giving the opportunity to listen what we are doing for peace in Mexico. I want to show you a project that last 1 year. A bunch of people decided to working together since 2015 to make a better place for living. Let me show you something about it.
First and second national encounter. The Stronger Mexico, Pillars of Positive Peace.
It was such a great experience to meet people who have been working for peace in their communities, but also to know what the 8 pillars of positive peace are about. Being part of a national network for sure reinforces the positive impact that we can make. Acapulco became one of the most dangerous cities around the world. Mexico has been involved in structural and direct violence dynamics through the last years. We require immediate positive actions everywhere. We have the motivation, but it becomes essential to apply the pillars of positive peace in every action we take so we can achieve better results.
Project, Creative Caravans for Peace.
Since 2015, our team CREA has worked in peace, health, arts, entrepreneurship, sports, and science, impacting 1,300 people in over 13 communities around 2 hours from Acapulco City. We will empower and articulate local people in long-term projects so that they can become the agents of change in their own communities. They will know the pillars of positive peace and how they are manifested in their context. They will be trained to follow up the solution proposals with our support. To disseminate tools for conflict prevention and resolution, held workshops promoting oral hygiene, the prevention of sexually transmitted diseases, and unwanted pregnancies, to improve writing, reading comprehension, communication, and teamwork of children in elementary school. Workshops to identify how corruption manifests in their community and to propose solutions, to promote good moments among neighbors, to share a positive message, to generate an annual report that allows different external actors to identify the problems and solutions proposed by the community. We have 7 allies between universities, organizations, and government. We aim at changing lives through sharing knowledge from our heart. Have you had a dream? Our dream is to live in peace. Give us a hand to achieve it.
Okay, and I think everyone.
You were in the church, you were in the Lord, you were working well, you were doing well.
I think that everyone at some point in our lives, we have gone through hard times. And when it happens, the family is where you can ask for a hand. I live in Acapulco, a city that once was on the top cities around the world. But the last years, we have moved to one of the most dangerous cities. When it happens, there's 2 options. You let the destiny reach you, or you try to manage your destiny. I choose the second one. And the amazing thing is that we are a lot of people around Mexico doing things to get a better place for living. That's very hopeful. And I want to thank you again, all of you, for making this great network possible. The Institute for Economic and Peace, Rotary International, and for finishing, I think coronavirus has made it harder for everybody, but I'm pretty sure that everything that goes from our heart, it always have a good ending. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Luis Miguel. That was a wonderful video, and I really appreciate you speaking to us, which obviously from your heart, from a very important place. So next up on the agenda is actually myself. And I think it's actually a really nice time to take a quick pause from some of the stories that we've heard and talk about, I really like this idea, and I can't remember who said it first, but this idea, I think it was Rainer, of this continuum of peace. And I think, you know, just bringing in the concepts of negative peace versus positive peace. When we think about negative peace or the absence of violence, we think about being able to stop violence or stop a war. And maybe we think about that in like a static state. But if one thing I've learned in my experience is that that peace is actually a verb, it's an action, it's something that we need to continually work on, you know, over the long term. So that continuum of work is a really good analogy. So we are continuing. Our partnership with the Institute for Economics and Peace started in 2017. We have focused most of that work in Mexico and Colombia. And I think that one of the biggest lessons learned out of that work is that certainly as staff, we can't do it alone. So one of our next steps within the partnership is our Positive Peace Activator training. And the vision behind this part of our work is to train cohorts of Rotarians, Rotary Peace Fellows, Rotaractors, and community members that are both steeped and understand deeply the research and the framework of positive peace, and then also understand deeply Rotary. And as Michael said, how to activate that framework into real change. And we are a very unique partnership because we have the research from the Institute and then the action on the ground from all of us. So we're very excited about this program. So to date, obviously coronavirus has definitely changed our landscape and our plans, but to date in January of of this year, it feels like 5 years ago, but in January of this year, we trained about 30 activators in North America, in Canada, and the United States. And then next month, we will finish our Positive Peace Activator training for Latin America. That is taking place virtually. It was going to take place in person in Mexico, and that includes activators from Mexico all the way down through the southern cone of Chile and Argentina. So we are building upon this incredibly strong group that we have in Mexico, and we're starting to expand it down through Latin America and then up through North America. We definitely have at least one activator on the call, which is Jim Roxlow. So he is an activator from North America, and he's actually working on a project, and I'm seeing, yes, I think he's going to be talking a little bit later. So you'll see a very prime example of what the activators can do. But we look at these cohorts regionally, and if everything goes well and we can start to travel and move again, we will be training activators on 6 continents. So we're going to have activators around the world working on these issues. And just one note that's related to this, I think that sometimes peace can feel very overwhelming, but we have to think about it happening on all levels. So you have small local actions that ensure that peace building is being taken seriously at the local level. And then that goes up all the way through the international level between countries. And again, I'll reiterate the importance of Rotary taking a strong stance in this arena, because we have all of those connections, up and down, local to the global scale. So I think it's a really exciting time. We've been getting by doing all of this online. I look forward to doing it in person as soon as we can, but there's definitely momentum. And again, I invite all of you to get in touch, to learn more, and to continue to be involved. And with that, I am going to hand it over to Sofia Hermosillo from Chihuahua.
Hi, I'm Sofia. And well, I'm going to share my little presentation I prepared for you. And yep, you see it? I think yes. Well, I'm Sofia. I am a law student at my college in Juarez City. I live at the border town with El Paso, Texas. And due to that, I have lived and I have grown in a very violent context due to the socio-political issues that always are involved in my city. Before I start talking about my story and the projects I have been to, I want to thank Jorge Merubia, Summer Lewis, Carlos Juarez, and all the team that made possible the Peace Activators Program, because I know it's very hard and I know it's very exciting begin a new projects and more with youth people and more with persons that you don't even know, but you invest in them. And also I want to thank all the sponsors, because you make these projects possible. You make possible that young people like me, I'm 21 years old, can have access to these opportunities. So I have been part of the second national encounter of the leadership workshop and from the Peace Activators Program. And I have learned a lot, like really a lot of things that I was amazed when I learned about them. And when I came back from the second national encounter, when I came back from the leadership workshop for peace, and when I was accepted at the Peace Activator Program, I decided to propose a project to my Girl Up Campus Juarez, which is an initiative from United Nations Foundation, and I'm the founder. So we made like a cycle of workshops about communication and conflict transformation with girls and young women inside shelters. So this is one of the projects that came from the from the Peace Activators Program and from the Second National Encounter and from the Leadership Workshop, as well as I founded in March of this year, Peace Activators at Juarez. And we have been doing work about peace information diffusion, because we want to people learn more about it, talk about it, see the peace perspective as something that must be on the public policies. As well, recently, like last week, I think, we finished our conference cycle called Climbing Positive Peace, where all the members from this group talk about the importance of family, democracy, economy, education for peace building. As well as a personal project or as personal activities I have done, well, our conferences and workshops with peace and gender perspective to my Rotary district, to other Rotary districts, to social associations, and as well to political leaders. And yeah, that's I have done because of the knowledge I have been access to. I have, yes, for the Peace Activators Program. And I want to thank you a lot because of this. I know it's a lot of effort. I know it's a lot of time to put in when you are planning something as big as these projects, these initiatives. And now I'm planning to do a master when I finish my bachelor about peace studies, because I truly believe that it's very important to investigate and spread peace information in order to build it. Also, because there is an importance, a very clear importance about having policies, public policies with a peace perspective. And I'm very thankful you are interested in hearing and learning about these stories and seeing what the invest that you are doing in us have the results, and very good results. And I want to conclude that we, the youths, have the ideas and will to transform the world, and all we ask you for is to believe in us. So thank you very much. I'm very, very thankful. I always said that to Jorge, to Summer, and to Carlos, but it is true. This is a life-changing initiative, and I'm very thankful I have been part of. So yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sophia. This work would be really nothing without all of you. So we are thankful that you are here as well. So now I want to hand it over to Coque Parrales, who is going to speak to us about his work in Tamaulipas and is also our mastermind behind all of the tech tonight. So thank you, Coque.
Well, thank you a lot for this opportunity to speak with you and sharing my experience and all the work that I have been doing and the things that bring me here today. And the first thing that I want to say to all of you, and I think that I'm going to say it a lot during my presentation, is thank you. Thank you so much for all the investment that you did, because I wasn't like acknowledged about all the money that needed to put 150 person together to talk about peace. And this money came from all of you. So first of all, thank you so much, because without you, the people that are like surrounded today talking about peace couldn't be here. So I'm gonna like do my speech really quick because I don't have another option. And I'm a really talkative person. So I'm gonna like talk with 3 H's. So who am I, where I'm come from, and where I'm heading to. So first of all, and I wanna like thank Jorge to assign me this closure of this section, because I wasn't like thinking about this until they told me that I'm a peace activator, and also I'm a peace ambassador from the Institute of Economic and Peace, and I'm part of the 100 and 100 project, and I've been so much involved about all these peace activities, and all these peace projects came as a result of this encounter. So thank you so much one more time. I'm a Rotaractor. I'm from Rotaractor Ciudad Victoria Club, And I want to thank also to the crew that did the mapping process, because of thank you of that mapping process, I came through this encounter. And such as a result of my activator and ambassador work in between Rotary and the IEP, I have given this speech about how to activate peace in our communities and how to create and sustain peace through all the work through 15 Rotary clubs over my district, in 2 conferences on the 4130 district. And also I have giving this lecture in Mexico, Chile, and Argentina. So the work that I have been creating has spread on different Rotaract and Rotarian clubs, over 15 Rotaract clubs and over 6 Rotarian clubs. So if you are interested to talk about more in peace, so there's much things that we have to learn and do. And as a result of this, I have been part of one of the 100 and 100 project, which is a makerspace to sustain and teach young kids about science, technology, engineer and mechanic, but also how to solve problems. And this is something that we have just added to this project, to solve problems like creating games and doing that, the conflict resolution through the gaming process, because it's all about we are like child in our heart and in our things that we do and did. So the other thing that I want to talk about is thanks to this process, and I'm just a testimony of what people have been doing, but we have created a network, we have created projects between the borders doesn't hold us anymore. And the technology that we are doing today, that we have brought us together, is such an amazing opportunity to create and sustain projects. 1 or 2 projects that I want to talk about are about mental health and prevention of suicide. And I'm gonna thanks a lot Joseph Fletcher, that he's not over here, but he helped me to create a suicide prevention campaign. And this is just as a result of the training that we have been involved to. Also Alejandra Carrillo, that she is a psychologist, and help us to create another project to help people through all this process through the pandemic, and how to deal with stress and depression and all these things. And this framework of this project hasn't or couldn't be developed without all your investment and all the activities that you brought us together. So this is a small project, and I'm speaking really quick about all this stuff, all this amazing stuff. And thanks a lot, Jorge, to choose me as a closure, because I'm just a testimony. I'm just such an example about all the good things that people such as Sofia, such as Raul, Luis Miguel, that he is over here. But I want to thank also my classmates, my partners in crimes in this process of creating peace, Karina Barba, and Selene Esquivel, and I don't want to miss anyone that is present over here or is not over here, but with these amazing people that I have been involved. Luis Claro, that is also an example who has created so much an amazing project, and he is the leader at Rotaract level of positive peace. And what I'm going through, which is the next step. So the project that I have talked to, the makerspace, that wanted to share this enthusiasm that you are putting on over the chat, share this enthusiasm with child, with youth, with the next generation, and teach how to solve problems, how to use all this technology. And this project is one of the 100 and 100. It's already approved. We're just in the process to get a one Rotarian club to finance this project. And just as me, there's Luis Miguel, who also is waiting for the funding. And this funding came, or will came, hoping, finger crossed, over you that got interested in support young people in over these amazing projects. My peace way has been developed because just such as Sofia, such as Luis Miguel, we have grown on such a hard environment here in Mexico. We have heard a gunshot. We have lost so many loved ones. And that's why we are so committed with peace. And sorry, I don't want to get emotional, but this is such an amazing part of this creating process, and in all this enthusiasm and all these activities that we are going through is because we have suffered the violence and all the impact, and we have lost so many loved ones. And the pandemic and all this situation, we have living in such a hard environment. And if Mexico was a game, we have grown on the hardest level, but this brought us together stronger to sustain and to create peace and to share this message with our people, with our community, and share our commitment to create a better world. Stop putting the ones against others. This world is violent enough. It's cruel sometimes enough. We have this virus and all this climate change. And this passion came through this, to find a way to create peace. Thank you. Thank you so much to bring me here.
Thank you, Koke. It's important to remember.
So Koke.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much. Really beautiful. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to hand it over to Jim Roxlow, who's going to talk about his project with Rotaract in the United States. And then just to give you a quick, I know we're running a little bit over time, but I think then I'll talk a little bit about ways to get involved, and we will go for questions. So over to you, Jim. Oh, can you unmute yourself? There we go.
Here I am. I think I'm here.
Yes, you are.
Great to see you all. Great to be here, and great to hear all of this stuff from Mexico. It really is. This thing is still telling me to unmute myself. I think I'm unmuted. Anyway, it's really great to hear all the stuff that's happening in Mexico. So happy to be here and to talk a little bit about what's happening in the United States. And so I'm going to share my screen. And so we have, amazingly enough, we have a Rotaract Positive Peace Workshop coming to zones 30 and 31. And we got started on this it really started last January when we started with the Positive Peace Activators. We went through all of that training together, about 26 of us, I guess. Mm-hmm. And at the end, we broke up into little groups with different interests. And one of the groups was youth focused. And so I ended up in this youth focused group, and we talked about a lot of things. And after about maybe 3 or 4 months, we decided that this was something that we were going to work on. And a lot of pieces came together, but it's all based on what's happened in Mexico, the association that zones 30 and 31 have with Mexico and the workshops in Mexico. Anyway, so we're bringing it to the US, and it's really exciting. If I can keep changing these things. The two people in the group, me and Patricia Schaefer, are largely the ones that put this together. And you're lucky to have me here today, because if you want to ask, well, who did all the work? I can tell you that Patricia is the one who's put all of this stuff together. And if you come back next week or 2 weeks from now, Patricia is going to be speaking, because she can speak Spanish, and she can also answer all of your questions about how all of these little pieces fit together, because she's the one who understands all of that. And so anyway, we've had a good time working together, and we are just about to launch this global grant. So it's based on the grants in Mexico. It's the same sort of stuff, but there's some distinct differences, and some of them you might expect. The first thing is, rather than inviting individuals to our workshop, we're inviting Rotaract clubs. And a lot of that is because of the way Rotaract clubs work in the US and the way kids work together. They are pretty club based, and they work together on things. And at the same time, Rotaract in the US isn't as strong as it is in Mexico and in most other countries. And we wanted to give the Rotaract clubs themselves a boost. One of the problems with Rotaract clubs in the US is that kids that age in the US are very mobile. They're leaving home, going to school, or leaving school, going to work, and not all in the same city. And so they're always moving around. And so we want to do something that will help the clubs themselves learn something. So having a team from the club is a way to do that. The next thing we're doing that's different is it's all virtual. And that's first because of the pandemic. You know, this year everything is pretty much virtual, but it also suits our Rotaractors to do it virtually. It's one of the things they asked for when we first started talking about it. We're going to include a project design section, because we see when we have surveyed our Rotaractors that they don't do very strong projects. They tend to do things that are fairly easy to do to help somebody else who's already doing something, but they don't do an analysis of a beneficiary and go out, figure out how to help them. The next thing that's different will surprise a lot of people. We're including leaders of community nonprofits. And that's because if we're going to do projects, we need to have people who have more expertise in the community to bring in the reality into that project team. And we have interviewed the community nonprofits, and they're really interested in this because many of them are up against the wall just trying to get their little job done. They don't have time to think about the bigger picture of how you make this a lot better. And again, coming out of the surveys that we did, we're going to have a primary focus on hunger alleviation. It's one of the top things that Rotaract clubs work on, and of the ones that we've surveyed, one of the things that they would like to work on. And in fact, when they work on it, they don't work on it in a positive peace way. So we think we're going to really shake them up to think about, instead of how you collect food and deliver food to people who need it, how you figure out how you can make it so there are less people who need food. And it's really going to be a lot of fun. So that's our project, and I hoped that Rebecca, I hope we submit it even tomorrow. It's really great.
Okay, all right, that's awesome.
Okay,
I'll be ready.
So, quickly, here's who's working on it. The host district, District 6780, with Ron Napoon and myself and Alan Johnston. And a lot of you know the three of us because we've been involved in a lot of the stuff in Mexico. District 4170 is our international partner, and the three Davids. It's really great to have three Davids. It makes everything easier. And New Gen Peace Builders with Patricia Schaefer is the cooperating organization that's driving the training. And so we have 4 districts that have contributed. We still need just a little bit more DDF. So if any of you want, just tell me in the chat, and we'll make sure we get you tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, we'll sign you up. And we're really close to launching this grant, and really looking forward to it. And that's all I have.
No, that's great. Thank you so much, Jim. And I think I just think it's pretty cool that now 4170 is the host district for a US grant. I think that partnership is strong. Yeah, that's wonderful. Okay, my turn to share a screen. Second. Okay, so I just wanted to briefly touch on this because we've given you a ton of information. And for those of you that might not be as familiar with positive peace, you're probably going to say, all right, I need to really kind of wrap my head around all of this. So there are 4 main items here that we call like a menu of opportunities for you to start learning more about the work of Positive Peace. And we can certainly email this out after the presentation. But the first one is the Rotary Positive Peace Academy, which is now available in English and Spanish. We look at this as like the first step in the journey of positive peace. So there's 4 modules. It takes just a couple of hours to go through them. You get a certificate at the end. And this just is an introduction to the research that the Institute has put out, and how Rotary in particular is also using positive peace and trying to make it actionable. We also have, if you want to take a further step, perhaps do a presentation at your club or at your district, we have presentations that are available on the Rotary website. And then the third one, and one that we've worked really hard on, we're very excited to roll out, is a very comprehensive toolkit and workshop curriculum that would be available to anyone that wants to put on a workshop, from a half-day seminar to a full day to a 3-day training of trainers. So there's multiple entry points, and that is also available. And then if you would like information about the Positive Peace Activator Program and actually connecting with activators to work on whatever initiative you're thinking about in your local community, Summer Lewis is available. And I would also, it's not listed here, but I would also invite you to keep in touch with the speakers that you heard from this evening, from our colleagues, with Ron, with people that are connected with this work, both in Mexico and in the United States. Of course, we're always looking for people that want to give monetarily, support these projects, and really just more importantly, be a part of this growing community. So I know that we're over time. I'm going to stop there and just really open it up for a couple of questions. And Ron, I don't know if anything came out through the chat box while we were talking, but I will hand it over to Ron to see if we have any questions or have a short dialogue.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. We just got one question that I'll ask here at the end. Most of the things that we got were comments. Summer Lewis has posted the PDF for the second encounter final report. You can find that in the chat. I posted the website for the 100 in 100 program. If you don't know anything about that, you can find that in the chat. District Governor Jackie from Missouri says, Mike Collins, you need to join Rotary. And I say, Carlos Juarez in Mexico, you need to join Rotary. Okay. I do have one of the questions that I have was, how many Positive Peace Activators are planned for Latin America, Rebecca?
Actually, Carlos and Summer for Latin America, they're going to know that better.
We currently have 30 who are being trained. So the training is taking place. It started online in April and we'll be finishing it up in December.
Okay, thank you.
And they're from, sorry, let me add just quickly, it's 12 different countries in Latin America.
Oh, super. And when and where will we post the recording of this session? I'm sure we're going to, I didn't get that question, but I'm sure some people are asking that question. So we may not have the answer to that, but Jorge, you may want to think about that and answer it in the chat before all of us get off. I want to say on behalf of everyone else to thank the presenters, all of you. You've all done a really wonderful job, and I know I can speak on behalf of everyone here, Rebecca, in saying that you guys have done a wonderful job in putting everything together. I think that one of the things that people have commented about is about the passion for peace. I think everyone on this call has a passion for peace, and it doesn't show through in much more clearly than the comments by Sophia, Koke, Luis, and Raul. And certainly, that's the kind of energy that makes the rest of us go forward. We love that positive energy from everybody. That's why we're all here. And I want to thank everybody, for your efforts there. Personally, I want to thank the District Governor class of 2017-18 from the Heart of America, who helped to sponsor this second encounter, plus our friends in Arizona, because they kind of made it happen financially. It was a big group of DGs who did that. And I certainly want to and I think what we had, how many countries we had? We had Mexico, we had Canada, United States, and I think Colombia too, right? So I think we had 4 countries represented here, which is really, really super. And we've got a question we had a question and answer from Steve Henderson about who decides or provides advice on the scope and scale of project design.
I actually wouldn't mind jumping in.
Okay,
Yeah.
go right ahead.
Yeah, and then Jorge can provide some, because I think this is just a good tie into the global grant process, which we didn't quite talk about, and how Positive Peace does align with global grants. And Jim gave an example of what he's doing, but I want to reiterate to Stephen and to everyone that, so Positive Peace is very broad. And so there's a lot of different ways that you can interact with the framework. The curriculum that we've designed in a certain sense could be its own global grant. Like you can actually, so what we've done in Mexico is train young people on the framework, on the pillars, so that they can go and use that within their work, within their communities. But I do want to emphasize the importance of a community assessment. I mean, that is a requirement, you know, through global grants, and really looking at the communities in which you work. So with Mexico, it was national. So we had groups from each region that were working on issues that were slightly different, right? Depending on where they're located. And in Colombia, we had 5 regional trainings. So that really honed in even more on what was happening in those communities. So I think the scope and the project design depends on where you're working and what you're trying to do. And we have tailored curriculum that you can use, but you can also take the framework to create your own project.
Okay.
Also, I would like to jump in there with, well, when we speak about a partnership with the Institute for Economics and Peace, and this is very relevant, it's not just by name, and actually we are not just taking the theory of the institute or the words in general terms. Or, for example, here in this session is Carlos Juarez, current director of the Institute for Economics and Peace in Mexico, and Carlos, despite being an extraordinary man that I am very proud to call a friend, he has also very key to the design of the contents for the workshops themselves. And therefore, there is the encounters are not just meeting points, is places to learn. But after the encounter, we had a chance to meet with Michael Collins in Merida in this Peace Nobel Prize gathering, and he helped us design a structure to frame the projects, different projects, social impact projects, under the framework precisely of the pillars of positive peace. That framing, that how to look at your project from a positive peace perspective, was the tool that was used by participants of the encounters to propose projects into the 100 in 100 initiative. Therefore, if Michael and Carlos, if you are okay with us sharing that framework that you provided with the participants to this session, we can also adjuntarlo. We can attach it into the subsequent email that we can send to the participants of this session with the recording of the session. Does that sound all right?
Sounds like a wonderful idea, Jorge.
So coming back to Ron's question, I think a few days from today, we can, after Ron, Sommer, myself, and others that we sent invites to different people, we just put together all the emails and we sent a joint information with the different resources available.
If I may say something regarding what you just mentioned about projects and the use of the 8 pillars, just a quick note. And so this is a framework, and we are trying to teach the framework, to share the framework, because this is a way to see reality. This is a perspective to analyze context, specific context, but we don't have the ultimate recipe or the ultimate way to use them. this is our hope that when we share this perspective and this framework, you, the experts, the hands-on people that know their own context and that have been, that are peace builders for years, have been peace builders for years, you might own this framework, take it, use it, and adapt it to your own experience and needs. And then this is going to be a two-way process where we share our contents with you, but we also learn from you how this framework can be used in creative, innovative ways. Just wanted to point that out.
Great, thank you so much, Carlos. So I think that is it for the questions. I really, again, appreciate everyone taking the time and hearing all of the stories of impact and what we're doing. And I just want to reiterate again, this is a continuum. So the work is absolutely not finished. And I am really looking forward to expanding both in Mexico and in the United States with this work. I think that it's more important than ever. So let's hope that we can survive with more Zoom for a little bit longer, and then we can get back to seeing each other in person, because I know I'm looking forward to it. So thank you again, Ron, Jorge, all the panelists, Summer, Michael, and thank you everyone for joining us. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Gracias.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Yes, hasta luego.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye, everyone.
Good night.
Take
Bye.
care.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Good evening.
We didn't took a photo of someone took a photo.